In this video, we are going to be going over the new consignment features in ThunderPOS. These features were introduced in version 22.11.1, released in November of 2022. And we think they'll make life a lot easier for those of you who do consignment. If we take a look here, we've got our version installed. We're running off a local database here. Most of these features, other than actually selling the items, everything here, if you are a cloud user, can also be done through thunderpos.net and is found under the consignment section in items and then master lists. So we're going to just sign in here. And to get to our main list of consigners, the people who are consigning things with us, you just go through the store menu here and then to consigners. You can see we already have one in here. We're just going to add another one here that we're going to use for demonstrating this. So we're going to put in a ID here. We'll just call it demo, demo company, and then demo name. So we'll just put in our basic information. The only fields that are required here are the only fields that you absolutely must put in here are the ID, which has to be unique, and then a first and last name for your contact. The company and all of the address and stuff are optional, but we do suggest filling it out just so you can see, who you are going to need to pay out when they sell things. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Now, beyond the contact info, there's a couple other fields here. You'll see we have a payout balance. Because this is a new consigner, it's obviously 0. We also can select between the default commission type for this consigner being a percentage of the selling price or a specific dollar amount per item sold. You will set this on an item by item level as well. This setting just sets what the default will be when you first add an item or add this consigner onto an existing item. So we'll say we're going to give a commission of 60%, where that will mean that for every dollar we sell, we owe the consigner 60 cents. If it's the other way around, you would do 40%. Notice that we enter 60% as 60. We do not put a decimal there. If you do 0.60, that will be 0.6%. And then the default amount is just an amount per. That's usually useful if you're like giving the same regardless of any sales you give or any promotions you do, because the percentage is after all line discounts and any changed price and anything else. It's a percentage of that price, whereas the amount is just each unit you sell, you owe that. And an item will either have an amount or a percent. It will not have both, but you can set a default for each. So we'll go ahead and save this, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll be back on this screen to do some other things, but before that we need to actually associate a couple of items with this company. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just create a couple of items here right quick. So we're going to say demo test 1 and demo test 1 here. So we're just going to, when we mark the item as being consignment, you'll notice we can no longer set costs, we can no longer set trade values, because you can't trade in a consignment item. That kind of goes against the point of consignment, because that would add it to inventory that your store owns, which is not what consignment items are. And just like anything else, we can just directly set a stock level. I'm actually not going to. We're going to set the price of this to like $20 new and like $15 used. Now, if you do actually have an item for consignment where you're going to sell it both new and used, you definitely are going to want to use percentage, because otherwise, whether it's new or used, if it's set to a fixed amount, you'll get the same commission. So we'll set this as demo. You'll notice it immediately sets it to be percentage based and 60%, because that was our default. If we switch over to amount, it will do the amount of 10, which was our default there. But we can just change that for this. That's just the default when we select it. So if we say 55% on this item, for example. So, if we don't give any kind of discount or anything for a new one, we would give $11, for instance. So if we save this, and then let's say we wanted to get that item in. So we would go to consigners and we would select our consigner and we would hit receive items. And that will allow us to just on the fly receive those items. You don't have to put in a cost because you don't have a cost. Your cost is 0 for consignment items because they're not part of your inventory. So you can just say, 10 and 5. We'll say we're getting 10 and 5 in and we can finalize it. Now, I do want to point out a couple of other things on this screen. You can just select the item. Number one, you can edit the item that you've got selected, similar to what you can do in a purchase order. You can actually see, because we finalized that, we now have 10 and 5 in stock. If you were to remove it from this consigner, that would remove it from this order through the edit, though. So just keep that in mind. You can also view the history of the item. There's not a lot of history. There's just this order that we put in just a moment ago. And we haven't sold any copies of it yet. We can also add a new item. If you add an item, it's going to default to the consigner here that we just set. But if you can set it to a different consigner if you really want to. But if you do and you save it, it's not going to get added to this order. Whereas if we leave it as a item that is assigned to this consigner, it will add it to the order. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. We'll sell this one for 10 and 5, and we'll leave it at 60%. So we'll save it. And then we will actually put this one on the order. So we'll get 5 of it and 2 of it in stock just to kind of do something there. So canceling this will discard any changes we've made since we came in here. Save will save it so that we can come back for later if we're partway through an order. Like if we've got a really complicated order and we need to go do something else, we would save it and then come back to it. That will not update any quantities. Finalize will actually update our quantities based off of this. So when we finalize it, it's going to make it so that these are in stock, new, and used. So we'll finalize it. So then the next thing you can do here is you can return items. It's very similar, again, to a vendor return. You just type in the amount you're wanting to return. Unlike the receiving, you can't create a new item here because that wouldn't really make sense. You can still edit it. Again, if you edit it to make it no longer part of this consigner, then it will remove it from this return. You can also view the history so that you get a sense for what you want to return and everything. Again, similarly, the cancel, finalize, and save. We'll just cancel this one. And then if you hit consigner history, you can actually see just a history of your orders and your returns. So if we do a report here, then that'll show us the order. If we go back in later, we can see everything that was brought in that way. Now, when we sell one of these items, so right now you can see that the balance is still 0 on this consigner. If we go out and sell one of those items, so we'll just sell demo test 1, and we'll just sell it new for $20. We won't change any of that. We'll just sell it new for the $20 and we'll cash out. If we go back here and we look at the consigner through store maintenance and then store and then consigners, well, if we just click on it, you can actually see the payout balance is $11. You can also hit selected account, and it will give you the basic information here, including the balance, and give you options for adjusting that balance or making a payout. So I am going to go ahead and pay out the full amount here, just so we will have that history for looking at a couple of these reports. But it's going to give you credit based on your percentage, and it's going to give you credit based on the amount if it's an amount. If an item that is a consignment item gets returned, it will also deduct that from the amount you owe to the consignor. That's one way you can end up with a negative balance, because it won't actually it will not let you pay out into negative, but you can adjust into negative, and you can also end up negative if items are returned or transactions are voided after a payout is done. So then, in addition to, that's kind of the basic operations for consignment. But additionally, there are a set of reports available for it, and there's quite a few actually. So we can do sales by consigner. That will give us simply a breakdown of what sales and commissions were earned by each consigner that had any items sold during our time frame. There is the items sold for a specific consigner, which will give us a list of the exact items and what transaction they were on and what kind of commission they earned. So you can see this is a 55% commission on $20 is $11. Or you could see it would say like if it was a $10 per unit one, it would say $10 per unit and the commission would be $10. There is under store information a consigner list. This simply displays each consigner and their current balances, which right now are zero because we did a full payout. Under others here, we've got the transaction totals. This is the totals of all payouts and adjustments over a time frame. And under transactions, we've got a list of each individual transaction. So this will show you each payout or adjustment that was done in that time. And then last but definitely not least, we've got our consigner statement. So our consigner statement is going to give us an indication of, in the time frame we had, where their balance started, everything that happened to it. So every item sold, every payout, every adjustment, and then their ending balance, which in this case, we started at zero, we end at zero because we just sold the one item for $11 and then we paid it out. But obviously this could be much more complicated. If you've set like a full company info block in the options, then you'll actually have like a return address and then the mailing address of the consignor, so you can actually mail this. In fact, let's go set a address block right quick here, and we will kind of show that more fully. So if we set that and then we go rerun that statement report, then that will give us the full return address, which should appear within the window in your standard envelopes. If you have any questions about the consigner features, feel free to contact us. As mentioned, these are in both the back office and in Windows. If you're using the back office plus iPad, you will also earn commissions off of the items sold through the iPad. But let us know if you have any questions or concerns or additional feature requests in this area, and we will be glad to talk to you.